It's JP Raw, show number 180, coming to you on June 26th. Yeah, the last show of July. Last show of July. And you know, Tim, one of the things I love about doing the show is the people we meet. Mm-hmm. I love the people we meet, the photographers we meet, the people in the photo industry. But the thing I don't like about it is we generally lose track of them after they go on and do other things, and when we move on. So I love when we're able to go back to somebody we had on the show before and talk to them again. And one of those guys is Ralph Velasco.
Velasco, yeah.
Velasco, dang it. You did me wrong there, Tim. And we have Ralph back on the show again tonight. We had him back on show number, it was 138 or so, back March of 2015, if I'm right. Wow. Yeah. So it's been a while, and I have not totally lost track of Ralph because I follow his posts on Facebook and other places. He's always traveling around the world and seeing and doing interesting things, and it's a great way to live through his images by watching his images on Facebook. And I think that's the main place where I've watched your images is on Facebook. And just be jealous of all the places you're going. And I know you're working hard, but from my standpoint, I just get to enjoy the beautiful images. Ralph, how are you doing?
I'm really good. I appreciate your following along. And Facebook's probably the place that I'm most active with posting things about my trips when I'm out there.
Yeah. So how many trips are you doing, you personally? How many trips are you leading a year now?
It varies between group trips that I'm leading. So trips, that I'm leading with participants, or scouting trips. So anywhere from 10 to 12 total trips.
Okay.
So usually about 8 group trips and 2 or 3, 4 scouting trips, prepping for next year or the following year.
When you're on a scouting trip, are you solo or are you going with people?
Yeah, no, usually I'm solo with a local tour guide or tour operator that's showing me around, so taking care of me when I'm over there. But yeah, it's a completely different type of trip, scouting. So, I probably see 3 or 4 times the amount of actual sites and do 3 or 4 times the amount of activities that we might do on an actual trip. And so then I kind of pare it down to what I want to include on the group trip the next year.
Okay. Well, I've kind of jumped into things for people who weren't there on show number 138 back in March of 2015. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself and then catch us up on what you've been doing since then?
Sure. Well, a lot of new things happening for me. I put up a new website. I kind of moved from being ralphvelasco.com to my company name, PhotoEnrichment.com. So the company is called PhotoEnrichment Adventures. So we had a new name change. It used to be PhotoEnrichment Programs, which kind of harked back to the days that I did a lot of Cuba trips. I've done 15 trips to Cuba with groups. And so I had a name change, PhotoEnrichment Adventures, and so I put up this new website, which I'm really proud of, and really needed an update. So we got some nice big pictures up there. Mm-hmm. And so I'm president and CEO, or chief experience officer of PhotoEnrichment Adventures.
I like that.
Yeah. And so we organize and guide trips around the world. I call them cultural tours with a focus on photography. So they're not a photo workshop. I don't even call them photo tours, but photography is a part of it. So I like to help people with both their travel skills and their photography skills. So photography, a big part of our trips, but it's not the sole focus.
Right, and I was looking at your website. We had it pulled up here just a second ago, and it is, you're greeted by nice big images, easy to go about, to travel about the site, see what tours are out there, and I'm really looking at that Iceland tour that you have coming up later in the year. That one looks very fantastic. But yeah, the site looks good. I don't remember, unfortunately, what your old site looked like. So, but I remember looking at when I looked at this one, I thought this is a great looking site and easy to navigate.
Appreciate that.
You mentioned, your tours are not a workshop. And so in that sense, like a workshop where you're sunrise to sunset working, nighttime reviewing the image and critiquing and editing and doing all that kind of stuff. That's not what's happening with your tour, right?
That's right. To me, a workshop is sort of 12 hours a day shooting, downloading at night, image reviews every evening, assignments, challenges, things like that, which is great. But to do that for 14 days, even for one trip, that's a lot of work, and even for the client that's there. So. Most of my trips are anywhere from 9 to 14 days because many of them are halfway around the world, at least from the U.S. So I try to maximize our time over there. And so our trips are about half-day scheduled activities, half-day of free time. And we do 1 or 2 image reviews in the middle of the trip so that we can kind of see how people are doing, give them some feedback, help them to improve for the rest of the trip. So provide as much instruction or as little as people require. Just depends on their skill level and what they're looking for. So say the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. Do you have any couples that go on this?
Mm-hmm.
Since yours is a little bit more, more relaxed and allows people to have a little bit more varied adventure than just a regular workshop, it's like it might be fitting more for a couple.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I get a lot of people that one of those people is interested in photography, the other not necessarily. And more often than not, the other person becomes interested in photography when they realize how fun it can be, that it's not 24/7, that they don't have to drag around behind a bunch of photographers that are taking a half hour to take a picture of one flower. So it could be casual and fun. So that's the idea. So we and then the half day is there so that people can pursue their own interests. Maybe they want to put into practice what they learned that day, or they want to get away from photography and go to a museum, or take a cooking class, or just sit by the pool, whatever they like to do.
Awesome. And if I remember right, you guys get a little more involved in the culture of wherever you're at, right?
Absolutely. So I call them cultural tours. So I think food is such a big part of travel. I used to own a couple restaurants, and I don't consider myself a foodie, but I enjoy food. And I think it's such a big part of the destination, wherever that might be, that we do foodie tours. So we go out with a local chef or maybe a food blogger or a local food expert, and they'll take us around, teach us about the food. We'll try it. So of course we've got our cameras with us the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of what we do. And we also, I really like to get into the people's houses, see how they work and live, learn about them, have a cup of tea. To me, those are the best experiences, not museums and monuments and things like that necessarily.
Yeah, that sounds so much better even than just going by yourself on a regular vacation, because now not only do I have a guide who knows photography, knows the area, but is hooking me up with locals who are going to take me to places I may not have gone without them.
Absolutely, and that's what I do on the scouting trips, and that 3 to 4 times the amount of activities that I do. I've got a local tour operator that might say, you know what, we're close to this place. I know this shepherd, actually, this man and woman in this picture right here,
Yeah.
the story reminds me of. These are some shepherds, a shepherd family that lives in a sheepfold in Romania. And this is exactly what happened. Daniel, our local tour operator, said, I know this family that lives up in the hills. It's not too far away. Would you like to go see them and see how they live? Try their sheep's milk, try the sheep's cheese.
Wow.
And it was fantastic. And I said, I have to bring my group back to experience this and to meet these people and to see how they live in this very humble 2-room home. But they are happy as can be, and they have a $1 million view. And it's one of the great travel experiences of my life. I mean, that's why I travel.
And they don't mind a bunch of strangers coming in and taking photos of them?
No, it's very cultural, so it depends on the culture.
Yeah.
This gentleman's a Tarahumara man, and so the Tarahumara Indians in Copper Canyon, Mexico, they're open to being photographed, but they're not the kind of people that are going to be putting rabbit ears behind each other's head. This woman here, first time I've ever seen a Tarahumara person smile.
Yeah, great smile.
Just look at her daughter, very serious.
Yeah.
I think I've got a picture of her son here. They're very serious people, but I bring these pictures back, and I asked her if she knew who these kids were in this picture from the year before, and she said, "Those are my children." And so she did not stop smiling for 10 minutes. So it was really fabulous.
That's awesome. And you come away with a whole different experience than what you would have with a regular trip. I don't know how many people go to what did you say, Copper Mountain?
Copper Canyon.
Copper Canyon. How many people go there to vacation to begin with? But some of your other places where if it is touristy, you're probably going to take the standard tourist photos and go to the standard tourist eating locations. Yeah. And this gives you a whole different view. And with a person who knows what areas are maybe safe to go into and which areas are not.
No, for sure. And that's where we count on our local guides and tour operators to help us with that. We do go to some places that are considered touristy, but always try to get out there early. Mm-hmm. So you try to get out there before the tourist crowds. To me, it's about getting out there when the city's awakening, people are on their way to work, kids on their way to school. Those are the people that I want to photograph. You get the better light. It's cooler and hot climates. There's less bugs out. There's less crime because there's no tourists for the criminals to pickpocket and mug. Although I've never had a single person on any of my trips except my Chicago trip, which is where I'm from. One of my guys got pickpocketed on the L. But otherwise, around the world, over 60 trips that I've done, that I've organized and led with people, I've never had one other incident.
Yeah. And so many people, me included, worry about the safety of overseas, but there's also the same concern, the safety right here at home. There is no safe location, completely safe location. But with that in mind, do you have any areas where you maybe I need to not go there right now, or take extra precaution or anything like that? Any areas that you normally would go to that are of a concern right now?
Well, the one and only time that we've canceled a trip was Turkey. And I was supposed to do a trip there this past April, I think it was. And we decided about 3 months in advance that maybe it wasn't a good idea because things were starting to heat up there a little bit. There was a few incidents. And although nothing happened during the window of time that we would have been there, there are some things happening there now. And it's just the saddest thing because Turkey is such a wonderful country with amazing people, great food, just an incredible history and culture. That's the little boy that was telling you about the Tarahumara Indian. And so it's really sad that these incidents are just going to kill their tourism. They were so making strides. Their country was really, I think, coming back economically because of tourism, and this is going to be a huge hit.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably stay away from Turkey for a while, although I'm flying through Istanbul a couple times in the next month or so. But I'm not worried about it. But there's just so many places in the world. But I do want to encourage people to go to Turkey eventually.
Yes. And you mentioned Copper Canyon. That one's the one coming up next. That's August 13th to 21st. We're looking at there. Right. The cost, does that include, what all does the cost include to do
Pretty
that?
much everything except your flight down there.
Okay.
And maybe one or two meals. But otherwise, I think most meals are included, which is unusual because usually I don't include all meals. I like for people to have to go out and explore and find restaurants and their own experiences and not feel like you have to be with the group at every meal. Copper Canyon's a little bit different because it's pretty remote and there's not a lot of choices. So we try to organize meals for everyone so that they can eat because it's fairly remote. The town of Creel itself is, there are some restaurant options there, but typically we provide all breakfasts and one other meal per day on average.
Okay. Yeah, no, the price is very reasonable for the places you're going, and of course some places cost more. Iceland is one of the trips coming up.
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive, but if I'm looking down the list, and I know I just took it off the site, but you got Copper Canyon in Mexico, you got Romania, you've got Croatia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Morocco, Baltics, Spain, and Iceland, all coming up. Are you on all those trips, or are those the ones that's being split up?
I'm on every trip except for the Vietnam and Cambodia trips, which I'm starting to bring on other leaders to lead trips for me. Because the only way I can expand my business is if I start bringing on some other qualified photographers to do that. So that's what I've done with the Vietnam and the Cambodia trips.
Mm-hmm.
So Frederick Van Johnson, I know that you know of him at least from the This Week in Photo Network. He came with me to Vietnam last year, and he's going to be leading that trip this year. So he was there scouting, meeting all the local guides, having all the experiences, getting his images, and so that's going to be a great trip starting to fill up. And then Brian Crickshank, who is a Getty Images photographer from Southern California. He's going to be leading our Cambodia Kingdom of Wonder trip. And at Cambodia, one of my, I'm often asked, what's your favorite place? And Cambodia is at the top of the list. It's way up there. I just love that country. The people are just the friendliest people in the world, and the food is off the charts. It's great place to photograph.
They have the best chicken nuggets out there.
That I wouldn't know.
What kind of food do you eat there in Cambodia?
Well, you know what? My favorite thing is soup for breakfast.
Soup for breakfast.
Yeah, which sounds a little strange, but I could eat soup 3 meals a day, and you actually could in Cambodia.
Yeah.
So it's a very brothy soup. It's either beef or it could be seafood or chicken, lots of vegetables. But I just absolutely love the food there. Love Asian food in general.
Well, when I went to your site, I saw that you had 2 new people, Brian and Frederick, as part of your team now, and that's a sign of success, Ralph. That it's getting too big for just you.
Yeah, I can't possibly lead any more trips. I'm already on the road internationally over 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't physically lead any more trips. So if I want to expand my business, I thought I'd better start bringing on some other photographers. And I've got full faith and trust in these guys that I know they're going to lead a great trip. And I trained them to lead a PhotoEnrichment Adventures trip, but with their style, with their own input. But I didn't want it to turn into a workshop. So I want people that have been on my other trips to know exactly what to expect on all of our trips, who's ever leading it. And so to me, that was really important to maintain that consistency and quality. Sure. And the feedback I get from the people that come on my trips is that they love that ratio of scheduled activities to free time. They love to have free time. The kinds of people that come on my trips are comfortable having free time and going out on their own. They don't feel like they have to be handheld all day long. So I become very good friends with my clients.
That was the question I was going to ask. Do you feel that versus a workshop, that your clients they bond a little bit more? You don't come with maybe a significant other. You come alone, and maybe they bond more with each other and with you than if they were in a pure workshop type environment.
Well, I think more often than in a workshop, they would come with a spouse or a friend because of this free time.
Yeah.
I don't think too many non-photographer spouses are going to go on a photo workshop with the spouse. That could be a little uncomfortable for them. But I find that with workshops, people tend to be a little bit more competitive. And so the people on my trips, yes, they become very good friends. They just get along very well. I've had maybe 3 or 4 people that I wouldn't invite back over the course of 60 trips.
Wow, that's
so
good.
I think that's a pretty good percentage. And every now and then you're going to have someone that's maybe going to grade on the other people, but I try to sort of filter that out in advance so that people know exactly what kind of trip to expect, and they filter themselves out if they see that, okay, this is not my kind of trip. It's a little too active. It's not active enough. There's not enough photography. There's too much photography. So whatever. I just learned very early on that you have to let people know what they're in for.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's a good ratio. Just a few people out of 60 trips.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. You're not going to get 100% because it's not a fit for everybody.
No.
With that kind of bonding and with the filtering that you're doing and all that, do you have many repeat people who do this more than once?
42%.
42%. That's incredible.
Yeah, if I could be exact, because I just did a study of that. I'm not sure, maybe 6 months ago, to look at over the last 2 years how many repeat customers I'm getting, and it came out to 42%. And so I think if that number was too high, then I wouldn't be growing my business because there wouldn't be new people coming on. If it was too low, it means people aren't interested in coming back. So I think that's probably a pretty good number. And I've got people that have been with me on anywhere from 8 to 12 trips in the last 3 years.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
Some people have a lot of free time.
yeah, these are retired people, of course, that have some expendable income, but absolutely they like how I run my trips, and they keep coming over and over again. And I love them to come back over and over again because we travel well.
You have 42% repeat. How many do you think are referrals as well? Because I would imagine you're getting a lot of referrals then too.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is a good question. Definitely get a lot of referrals. I've never quite figured out what that percentage is, but it's probably 15 to 20% of people are referrals, or they're a past person that's bringing a new person. Whether they're rooming with them or they're getting their own room. But yeah, people are definitely telling others about our trips, and I think that's a great sign.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, you're hitting some great places, and probably once you're going to tour with Ralph, you're thinking, all right, where else is Ralph going? Because I want to go to some of those places, and where those things line up with where I'd want to go, and Ralph was going, then hey, let me schedule it around when he's going to go.
No, that's a good point, because this one friend of mine, client that's been with me on the 10 or 12 trips now, I'm always thinking, well, yeah, I'd got to keep his interest. So where am I going to go to next that I can keep him coming back? Because I know he really enjoys our trips. And so, yeah, I'm constantly thinking of that. I've got a stable of probably upwards of 20 trips now, 20 destinations that I do, but I'm constantly looking for new destinations. And so this year I'm scouting India, the Central European Christmas markets for next year. Next year I'm planning to scout Israel, maybe northern Spain, Portugal. So
something I noticed is missing from the list.
What's that?
And obviously you can't, if you're only doing 9 or however many you're doing, you can't do everyone. If you got 20, you have to pick between the 20. Is Cuba? Right. I know that you're a big fan of traveling to Cuba, right?
Well, I've done 15 trips to Cuba.
I remember you did a lot to Cuba,
right?
Yeah. So right now, I don't know what time frame. When I look at the website now, I know when I go into them I can see, but if I look at the Copper Canyon, which is this month, August, next month,
that goes out about a year.
Okay,
yeah, it goes out about a year. So I'm working on a Cuba trip for February, March. So that trip would fit in there, somewhere in the middle. So that's a great time of year to be in Cuba. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said, I've done 15 trips there. I've been going since 2010. I've done upwards of 4 trips a year, but it is changing a lot. And so it's it seems like it should be getting easier to go down there and do business down there, but it's actually getting harder, at least for me. So, or someone in my position that organizes trips down there. So it's just there's so much demand and so many people going down there that it's harder to get the hotels and the guides and the restaurants that we want. So it's a little bit more difficult. So we're looking at some alternatives. So there's something called casas particulares, which are rooms in people's homes or even apartments. So we are looking at renting 7 apartments in the same building for our group. So that'll be a little bit different and a new kind of experience for people, and in a great location. So I'm looking at doing that trip February, March.
Well, maybe long term that's a good problem. All the people going down there are pumping some money into the economy, and longer term will help that out. And maybe also you can get Frederick and Brian to carry a little more weight and do more than one tour.
Exactly. Yeah.
They got to start carrying the weight. Speaking of Frederick, I know you've been on his TWIP show before. Now he's doing this, working with you here, but you're doing something else with him, aren't you?
Yeah, so I am working on putting some episodes in the can for a travel and photography podcast that I will be hopefully announcing in the next couple months that will be coming onto the TWIP network.
Awesome.
So as you probably know, Frederick started out with just This Week in Photo and sort of a more general type of photography podcast, and now he's got something like 10 or 12 different very niche podcasts under that umbrella. And so I'm looking forward to being the travel and photography podcast. And we've got about 10 episodes in the can, and they're just looking, when they're going to start releasing those.
Yeah, he's been on a roll. He is, like you said, he started off with TWIP. That's where I came to know him, is through TWIP, and it seems like they're rolling out new versions. TWIP wedding, TWIP family, TWIP street. Right. Now maybe TWIP travel or whatever. I don't know what the official title is going to be, but a lot of different segments like that. They're doing great over there. Now, will your travel one be? Will you be on the road in any of these, or just discussing? What's the format of the show?
Yeah, so the idea is to at least part of the time be on the road interviewing local photographers in the destinations that I'm going to, which I've already done in Cuba, in Sweden, Lithuania, some other locations. Other times I'll be speaking to U.S.-based photographers wherever they are in the world, wherever I am, and we can get together via Skype and record something. But the idea is to talk about a particular destination or region of the world that they have a specialty in, help the listeners to get a better idea of how to travel and photograph in those places when they go.
Interesting. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that when it comes out.
Right.
Send me, if I don't notice it, send me a note if you don't mind. I'd love to check it out.
We'll do.
And we'll live through those conversations. I rarely get to travel, unfortunately. And speaking of travel, is Chicago your home base? Or what would you call home base?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Chicago, and I lived in Southern California for about 10 years.
Okay.
Or excuse me, 15 years. And and so I was on the road. Now, I've been doing this full time for 8 years now, and been doing it pretty hardcore, about 270 days a year, 9 months a year on the road internationally for the last 4 or 5 years. So I finally decided that it was silly to be paying rent 12 months when I'm there 3 months for 10 days here, 2 weeks there at a time. So I decided to go what's called location independent. And so I got rid of pretty much all my stuff. I remember the exact moment I was scouting in Spain for my Spain trip, and I'm walking around. I was on the road for about two and a half months that time, carrying around my fair, medium to big size duffel bag that roller bag, and then my camera bag that I'll show you in a little bit. And I'm like, I'm on the road, and what more do I need than what I've got with me right now? Do I need those 600 CDs and the 300 books and all the furniture and stuff that I'm never there? So I finally decided that I got rid of everything and 90% of my stuff, and that and shaving my head were the two most freeing moments of my life.
Yeah, I think I've only known you with a shaved head. I don't know what you would. I can't imagine what you'd look like without a shaved head.
I don't think I have a picture here, but I used to look like Mr. Kater. And
yep. What was that? Welcome back, Cotter.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Yep.
Yeah, with the afro.
Yep. So
I got a mental picture there.
Yeah, I kind of got one too. So you recently were or maybe you're in Chicago now, but you mentioned something about something called Out of Chicago.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with what that is.
Yeah, so that's a really great photography conference that a friend of mine, Chris Smith, put on. I think this was the third annual one. It's the first one that I had a chance to participate in. But he brings in photographers from, I guess, all over the U.S., maybe some from Canada. And it was just a great 3 or 4 day conference with classroom-type presentations and one-on-ones and image reviews and photo walking tours and just parties. Really, really fun. And we're doing Out of New York in October. I think it's the 14th through the 16th. And that's outofnewyork.com. So you can go there and see who the photographers are that it will be presenting. I know Frederick's going to be there. I'll be there. A lot of big name photographers. So it looks like it's 79 days away.
79 days, 11 hours. Yep. And right now the pricing is $349.
Yeah, and I tell you, I couldn't believe the quality feedback that he got on the Facebook page. I mean, people absolutely love this conference. Yeah, Rick Salmon, Brian Peterson, a lot of the big names. Frederick will be there.
Yeah.
So
RC.
People want to meet some of their photography heroes. Come out because it's going to be a great conference with a lot of learning to do.
Let's send Tim on assignment.
Sounds good.
He's up in that area.
I was just looking at this. Where is this in New York?
I forget the exact venue, but it is in Manhattan.
Oh, there's a guy I know. Ralph is a speaker.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Were you also a speaker in Chicago, right?
I was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey, we know this guy too in the lower right-hand corner, Scott. He's been on the show.
Right next to him is Chris, who's the organizer.
Okay.
Yeah, so he does a great job. He's got a great team. So people are going to really enjoy that conference. Yeah.
That's going to be packed because it's like 2 days. It's only 2 days and you got all these people. That's right?
Yeah, and there's walking tours on different days. So we just got the schedule today. Is it 2 days or?
Look, it says October 14th to 15th, 2016.
It says out in New York, Friday the 14th to Sunday the 16th.
Okay. Yeah, I think there might be an extra day for some photo walks and things like that. So
yeah, there you go.
Looking forward to it. It was really fun to participate in this last one, and I highly recommend it for people.
Any idea how many people signed up or were there at the last one?
Yeah, 400.
400. Wow.
Yeah, 400 people, and he had just beautiful facilities at the Harold Washington Library downtown, and gorgeous classrooms and a big room for the keynote that Rick Salmon gave. So he had it wired.
I think people underestimate how much effort it takes to put on something that mass of 400 people. That is a big deal to put together.
Yeah, he's got a really good crew that helped him out, and they work their tails off.
Yes, yeah. People don't, you go there, you have a smooth experience or whatever experience, but you really don't know how much hard work went in behind the scenes to get that thing ready for you.
It's hard to appreciate until you're there.
Yeah, well, if you want to really appreciate, volunteer to help.
Oh, yeah.
Then you'll appreciate how much effort went into it.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So, if you don't mind, I'd love to ask. There's a few photos I'd love to ask you a question about.
Sure.
As we're streaming through them, I had some questions about some of them, and I wanted to ask you, starting with this one.
Yeah, so that's actually Patrick, the gentleman I was telling you about that's been with me on 10 or 12 trips. And so this was
Why is he giving that guy a shave?
Yeah, so this was at the end of our Adriatic trip.
I need to go back. Hold on.
Whoops. And he and I were staying an extra day or two after the trip had ended. And he said, hey, Ralph, I found this really interesting barber who's got this shop that looks like a museum. We ought to go and get a shave. And so I said, "You're great," because I think that's something that people should do. Go get a shave, get a haircut, get your nails done, get a massage, do sort of normal things in these places, and that's where you're going to meet the locals. A quick story about him: this woman walked in as we're sitting there getting shaved, and they're talking in Croatian to the barber and her. And she must have heard Patrick and I speaking in English. And she says, "Oh, are you guys from the U.S.?" I said, "Yeah." Says, "Oh, good thing you're here at 9 o'clock in the morning." I said, "Why is that?" Yeah. She says, "Well, my husband used to come here. He's passed away now. And he always used to make his appointments early in the morning because after about 12 or 1 o'clock, this guy's had 4 or 5 drinks. And you probably don't want him to have a straight edge razor at your neck." So I was like, okay, that's good advice. We lucked out.
Yeah. Drinking and smoking through the whole morning.
Yeah, he already had at least one, and but it was just a great experience. So Patrick and I were photographing each other, having this done.
I looked at that, and there's got to be a story with this. I love the images that have stories with them. So I can go through a few of them. Of course, I love the blue.
Yeah, this one was made in Rovinj, Croatia, and this is a 30-second exposure. You could see the water's real flat. And I probably should have given you the other image, but I had another image that was made exact same settings, but about 4 minutes earlier, and it looks much brighter. And I show this in my presentations because it was just fascinating how that blue hour just turns on. Yeah. And so this was in the evening. So blue hour, for those of you who aren't familiar, is that time before sunrise or after sunset. A lot of times the sun hits the horizon and people pack up and go away. But if you stick around for 30, 40, 60 minutes after sunset or before sunrise, you should get this wonderful blue hour, which is a great time to shoot.
I have an app on my phone just for this to tell me when it's going to be in my location.
Me too.
Right.
Absolutely love this time.
Yep. And I like the evening one because it just gets bluer and bluer versus less and less blue.
Right. Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to some more. Where was this one at? Yeah.
So this is an image I made at. This is sort of called the movie Casbah. It's in a place called Ait Ben Haddou in Morocco, and they filmed a lot of movies here. I think Jewel of the Nile and Gladiator and a bunch of Lawrence of Arabia. They were filmed here. And so this little boy is running across these sandbags on the river. And so the little boys were helping the women and some of the older people across the river. And so he was running back to get another victim. But
why do you say victim?
Not of it. I'm kidding.
Because they don't all make it across the river.
No, they really provided a great service for the people, and they were happy to give them, the equivalent of $1 or so, and so it worked out. So I just captured this boy sort of mid stride here in a nice clear background. So that's why I showed this shot.
Okay, now, this one almost looks like a drone shot.
Yeah, this is Dubrovnik, Croatia, and if you've ever been, it's sort of set up against a hill. So there's a hill that goes right up here. So I'm actually on the hill looking down at the old town, that walled city. So this is one of the many Venetian walled cities that dot the Adriatic coast there. Of course, this is Croatia now, but hundreds of years ago, the Venetians had these settlements all along the coast. But always love to get above a place to show it from above. This again is the Blue Hour. I'm not sure if you can see it, but in the upper right-hand corner, there was a storm coming through.
I don't know if people streaming it can see it, but I can see it in the upper right-hand corner. You can see the rain coming down, I think.
Yeah, and my local tour operator, when he saw the shot, I think I'd put it up on Facebook. He's like, "Oh my God, I've been there 20 times, and I've always wanted to get a storm coming through. I never could have." And and this was the first time I'd been to Dubrovnik before, but it was the first time I'd gone up to this lookout. And sometimes you just get lucky. So first time I went, and I got this thing that he'd been looking for all along. And a quick funny story, my local guide that was with me, he got on the phone as I'm photographing, and he called his girlfriend. He says, "Honey, bring the laundry in. There's a huge storm coming." Because I guess that storm was moving towards their apartments, and she had the laundry out.
And I love that you captured this, a Blue Hour that feeds in so well with the ocean there, with the sea.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous.
Yeah. Where was this one?
Yeah, so this is Romania, near a town called Breb in the region of Bukovina. And this was a family of Romanians, people that they've got these little plots of land, and they go out there and they use sickles to chop down the hay that they then store and put, I think they're bringing this to their barn, but they also have these huge haystacks. I'm not sure if I gave you a picture of that, but this is just a family affair, from the little kids to the older, much older folks, 80, 90-year-old people. They are out there at this time of year, about the first 2 weeks of September, to bring in that hay harvest. And then this is how they feed their animals over the course of the winter.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of farms are like that all across the world. Is the whole family needs to be involved. It's a family affair when you have a farm.
Yeah, and we learned that the kids would, you could see the haystacks in the background there.
Yeah.
We learned that the 20, 30-something-year-olds that moved to the big city for the big paying jobs, they were obligated to come back to the countryside at this time of year to help the family. It's just understood.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has got to carry your weight if you don't.
Yeah.
The work doesn't go away. And it looks like, if I make that out right, those haystacks have some kind of pole going through them. Maybe that's to help form the framework of the haystack.
Definitely. So it's a very tall, probably 20, 25-foot pole, and it's stuck in the ground. And then they rake the hay up to the pole and sort of bring it in all around it. And then someone, and in this case it was not this little girl, but her older sister, would get on top of the haystack, and they would just throw the hay up to her, and she would pat it down. And so you see these people doing this, just hundreds and hundreds of these things all across the country.
And as we're going through these, and if you're watching this later or watching this now, two things. One, the fantastic imagery. The images are awesome. So, we're admiring the scene and what's going on in it, but also the image itself is fantastic. And these are things, I think this highlights too, what you wouldn't be getting a lot of these things if you went there on vacation by yourself. Who's going to drive out to a farm and start taking photos of people? You're going to miss out on all this stuff.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even know what time of year to go, because it's this very short 2-week window.
Yeah.
So Romania, one of my new favorite countries. It's like a step back in time. It's just absolutely brilliant.
This is one I like. This one too, with the little boy. I can't tell. Is this what part of the world is this?
This is Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yep.
Okay.
And he was just sort of one of the initiates, and so he was just kind of standing there for a brief moment, and I made two shots, and then he had to leave. So,
Yeah. All right, what's going on with this? Is this a welder?
This is in Morocco. So this man is a welder, and he's wearing a homemade welder's mask made out of cardboard.
Holy moly.
I was going to say, isn't that cardboard?
Yeah.
Cardboard and welding, I didn't think went together.
He must have wet it down or something.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that those would go together, but I suppose if it burns up, they're easy to make another one.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I like about this image is that man in the background.
Yes.
It gives that sort of extra layer. And so I'm trying to do that more and more with my photography, look deeper into the scene to try to provide that extra layer that gives the eye a little bit something to bounce back and forth from. So.
I love that too. I was thinking that on the last image or the image before last, where you got the main focal point, but then there's things in the background that are telling more of the story with your images. And I love that because I can spend some time on each one of your images and look through and make up my own story sometimes. Even with this one, what is this guy doing? What is he thinking? What is he watching?
Yeah, exactly. So this is in one of my favorite towns in Morocco called Chefchaouen, and the whole town is this blue, lavender, purples, just beautiful. Photograph around every corner, and right around the corner from him to his right is another man. So he's actually just talking to this man, and so I got a quick shot, from his viewpoint, and. I like the anonymity of the shot.
And I should say, I didn't set Ralph up to go through every one of the images he sent me. So we're going to do this on the spur of the moment. So if there's anything I forgot to ask you that you want me to bring up, let me know. But I'm enjoying going through your images.
Great, thanks. Yeah, this was a shot that I also made in Morocco. And this man was selling saffron. So those are little cups of saffron, for cooking. And, I asked him if I could photograph him, and he said, no, I prefer that you don't. So then I was just going to photograph his wares, the saffron display. And then I realized that they're on a mirror and there's his face reflected right in the mirror. So that was kind of a sneaky way of getting that image.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
And so I, moved around it so that his face was,
I like
in
that
the open spot,
clear part.
Yeah.
You want to move around your subject.
Exactly. What on earth are these things?
Yeah, so these are. I really like this shot. If I do say so myself.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this image.
Yeah,
from the guy wearing that shirt he's wearing. What is that? Perfume, isn't it?
Is that Chanel, maybe?
Chanel, yeah, I think it is.
Chanel. Yeah. So he is spinning this thread. And so, of course, these are the blue threads and a big sort of ball here in the front. So these are spools of thread.
Wow.
And so that was that extra layer that I was looking for. And then it actually looks like he's like on a cell phone or something, right?
Yeah.
But he's just got these different color ones. They're more of maybe an ivory or a white color thread. And he's just spinning onto that spool, and he's got them all laid out in front of him.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this was in Fez, Morocco.
Okay. It looks like a fisherman.
Yeah, this is in Essaouira, Morocco, and it's a very windy port town in the southwestern coast of Morocco. And this blue boat there, you'll see these hundreds and hundreds of blue boats in the harbor there. And these guys go out at like midnight, and they go till 4 or 5 in the morning, bring back their catch. And I just this guy is like the typical old man in the sea. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to photograph him.
I knew there had to be a story with this one.
Yeah, this
is that
just
you?
A fun shot. No,
actually, that's not you.
Yeah, this is Patrick actually taking the picture with his iPhone of 3 of the women on our trip. And I just stumbled on this image the other day because I told you about the Tar Humar. I'm bringing back. I bring back images for them, but I do this for all my trips. So I was going through my next 3 trips, which are Copper Canyon, Romania, and the Adriatic, and I'm looking at all the pictures that I could bring back to the people. And I sort of stumbled on this shot. I forgot it even taken. And, of course, I like the way it's sort of blurred out with the women in the background. And then if you look at his iPhone, you could see the 3 women, nice and clear in his screen there. So I think it's kind of a fun shot.
This is to me, one of many advertising shots for your business. Because look at the smiles on their faces. They look like they're having the time of their life.
They were having a blast. And I actually just did change our PhotoEnrichment Adventures Facebook page cover to this.
There you go. I didn't know that. I did that on my own.
That's funny.
And we talked about this couple. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was the next time when I come back with the group. We actually, they had made a stew for us. They had the local hooch, the palinka, which is a local sort of firewater. They played instruments for us. So this was when I brought the group back the next year. Remember, I said that, I want my people to have this experience. I want them to meet these people. And so we came back and we just had a ball. And so they just sat in front of this wonderful window and had a smooch, and we grabbed a couple quick shots of it.
Well, they look like they're enjoying your visit as much as you guys are.
Yeah, wonderful people. Can't wait to go back and give them that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is on the streets of Vietnam. You'll see these barbers kind of just setting up their shop right on the street there. And so this guy was sort of just taking a rest. And I wanted to get him reflected in the mirror there. But then as I'm walking around, I see these women on a motor scooter behind us reflected. And so that's, again, when I'll move around and kind of frame them just right and get the shot.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when I looked at that whether that he was looking at a painting, or I thought that was a mirror, but then that was the timing. It looks perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun. This is one of the little Tarahumara girls in Copper Canyon, Mexico. Not sure if I mentioned it. We were talking before, but Copper Canyon is bigger and deeper than the Grand Canyon, and has one of the great train rides of the world right through it. A train called El Chepe. It's Chihuahua Pacifico, and it's the only passenger train in all of Mexico. But the best part is that you've got the Tarahumara Indians there, and I'm not sure what their population is. Probably a very few thousand, but they are a very sort of stoic, quiet people. Again, they're not very emotional. They dress, even the little girls like this, in almost all the women have bandanas on their head, and they wear these handmade flower print dresses. Just beautiful colors. Wonderful people. And they live in caves and cliff overhangs till this day. And the government actually came in and built them some pretty nice housing, and they refuse to move into it because they're just used to this.
Yeah.
So we get to go see how they live. They make these very distinct crafts, and
that looks like a dress you could buy in a store. I mean, that looks fantastic.
Yeah, just beautiful people. So I can't wait to get back there. It's one of my favorite trips. This is actually a boy in that exact same location that girl was, and he was just kind of standing by this wooden post there. But I'm not sure if I gave you the other picture, but he put this box on his head, and he's kind of looking through a hole in the box. Maybe I did. Maybe I
don't
didn't
remember that one now.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we talked about this guy at one point too.
Yeah, another Tarahumara. If you look at his shoes, so he's got these sandals on. Yeah. The Tarahumara Indians, if you've ever heard of the book called Born to Run, they are known for their affinity for long distance running, and they can run for days at a time.
Wow.
And they have this ball game that they play, and it'll go on for several days. And we were pulling into this one town, and our local guide said, we saw these guys playing what looked like soccer, because essentially they're kicking this ball around. Yeah. And it was maybe 4:00 in the afternoon that day. And he said, these guys have been out there since 6:00 in the morning the day before.
Good grief.
Playing this game. And, he didn't even know when the game was supposed to be over.
It's almost halftime.
Exactly. So my point was that they run for days at a time in these handmade sandals. And so
it seems like that would just tear your feet apart.
You would think so, but it's a really interesting culture. And I've heard stories where they will, I'm sure they don't do it today, but they used to run down deer until the deer fell over from exhaustion, and then they'd pick it up and carry it home.
That's crazy.
That's how they hunted.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No, I could not.
Yeah.
Here's look at that.
Yeah,
holding that photo with a huge smile.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Never seen a Tarahumara person smile before, and she just could not stop smiling because I talk about this in my presentations, but giving back. So bringing back these very inexpensive, lightweight, very meaningful gifts, which are pictures that you've taken before. And I'm lucky because I get to go back to these places over and over again. And so, but you know, there's still Polaroid type cameras out there that you could do things immediately.
Right.
But I just love doing this for people. And I'll tell you, I've got about a 70% success rate of finding the people the next year or even 2 years later.
To give them something. She looked like she is just ecstatic about receiving that photo. I don't know how many photos she receives, but she loves that one.
Probably not a lot. And,
Yeah.
you know, we were talking that, you know, sometimes they don't even have mirrors, because I was walking around and showing some pictures to a little girl, and she said, no, I don't know who that is. I showed it to some other little girls across the way, and they said, that's the girl you just showed that picture to. She didn't even recognize herself in the picture.
I guess if you've never seen yourself in a mirror.
You know, I don't know if they don't have mirrors. They don't see a lot of pictures of themselves. So these are very
That could either be
meaningful
disappointing.
gifts.
It can either be disappointing or exciting.
I've had people cry, and I'm not sure why. Either they were happy or like, oh my God, I got old.
Yeah. And is this somewhere in Cambodia, Vietnam area?
Yeah, so this is Hoi An, Vietnam.
Okay.
Little difficult to see, but you can see that net that the man.
No, I'm looking at that. That's huge. That's great timing on that shot.
Yeah, big throw net. So here, you know, I was encouraging people to use you know, the continuous, because it's really difficult to time these kinds of shots. So you're going, and you can catch that. So I've got pictures of the whole thing just kind of flowing out like that. But what great thing! You know, we go out on boats, hire a boat for the whole group, and we go out and we look for these people that are doing these very traditional ways of living and working, and we photograph them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and here's last one in the series. We're definitely looks like a desert.
Yeah, so this is a Berber tribesman in the Sahara Desert in outside of an area called Mersouga in Morocco. So we go out there and we sleep in Berber tents, and we go in the morning, go on a camel ride, and
Nice.
These are our guides. So it's a really amazing experience.
Something I noticed in a lot of your images is how colorful the you know they are, how colorful their clothing and their architecture and even their boats, how colorful they have in their society.
Yeah, it depends on, you know, certainly the Tarahumara are, the Cambodians can be, the Vietnamese, it just the Moroccans. Yeah, I think color is a big part of most cultures.
Yeah,
Great photography.
I love looking at it. I'm going to just play it here as we continue to talk, because we're coming up on the time here. But if you don't mind, your trip here, do you mind me just playing this with no sound? It won't have any sound. We'll just play that as we talk.
Oh, okay.
But this is, I saw this as I was scrolling through, and you had, I think, your picture of you're on the train.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I'd ever been to Copper Canyon, and I was on a 35-day assignment to shoot for a cookbook on the regional cuisine of Mexico, and the publisher sent a videographer along, so we thought that we'd shoot a little video of Copper Canyon, so it came out kind of nice.
It did. Yeah.
Of the 40-plus locations that we went to in Mexico on that assignment, Copper Canyon was the one place I said I got to bring a group back to. It was fabulous.
Gorgeous.
It was fabulous. And we go in August, which is a great time to be there. And I get a lot of people that say, boy, isn't it hot in Mexico in August? And it normally is, but this is August. Look at the green, how beautiful green it is. Mm-hmm. So it rains, you know, maybe an hour a day, and you get beautiful puddles and clouds and rainbows. And so it's a fantastic time to be there. And the fact that we're up at 7,000 or 8,000 feet altitude makes it very cool. So it's a great time to be there.
Okay. So, if it's 100 degrees here in Atlanta, it's not going to be 120 down there when I go.
No, not at all. 70, 75.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wow.
That sounds like a nice, cool getaway from here in Atlanta.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and it's hard to believe that this is like a 3-hour flight south of our border. It's just such another world. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, well, if you're watching the show and you say, I want to go look at some of these, see when Ralph's got things coming up. We mentioned some of the tours you have. I didn't mention the dates on all of them. I think I just mentioned the date on the Copper Canyon. But if you want to go out there and look at it, it is PhotoEnrichment.com. We'll have the link on our website. Ralph, where's, other than PhotoEnrichment.com, where's the best place for people to keep track of what all you're doing, what's coming up, and that type of thing?
Yeah, so I have a personal Facebook page or profile, and that's facebook.com/Ralph Velasco. But I'm also getting much more active on social media via Photo Enrichment. So we're pretty much at Photo Enrichment on all the social media networks, trying to build up our Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/Photo Enrichment. And if you go there, would love it if people would like the page. And
I just did.
Fantastic. Thank you. And people can always reach out to me, shoot me an email, ralph@photoenrichment.com. And would love people to follow us on Instagram as well. So trying to, for a long time, I let these accounts kind of flounder a little bit, but we're trying to get much more active. And I'm really enjoying getting these pictures up there.
You need an assistant.
I have a very part-time assistant, maybe 3 hours a month, but it's tough, because the decisions that I'm making are, really only I can make. And I'd have to really have someone travel with me all the time to be able to have any hope of making the majority of the decisions that I have to make about these trips. So for now, I'm kind of a one-man show, but no one's feeling sorry for me.
I think that is a challenge for people when you get into that. When first you're just starting your business, you may not have enough business to really be keeping you busy. Then you hit this stage where business is growing, it's getting better, and it's starting to become too much for the one person, but not enough to take on a staff to split up the revenue. And all of a sudden now you're not making that much money, and like you said, the decisions. Those are sometimes hard to give up and hard to train another person to make those decisions at that point in the business. Even social media. I know what our company, doing social media. We have a person who does that full time. We're a large company, but we have a person who does that full time. But still, you got to be careful about, are they sending the message you want? Are they responding the way you want? Are they, doing what you want?
Voice.
Yes. Yeah. That's really hard to do. It's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is.
By the way, you just got another like on your page.
Oh, thank you.
That was me.
From that guy.
I appreciate it. We'll take any like.
Yeah. Well, Ralph, a segment we've been starting here. Gosh, I don't know how many we've done so far, but it's always interesting. And that is something that we're calling "What is in your camera bag?" So we'd love to know, if you don't mind sharing with us, we'd love to know what is in your camera bag.
Sure. I just happen to have it right here.
Just
what do you
happen
know?
to have it.
Well, before I even get into the bag, one thing I'll recommend that people do is I put my email address on almost everything.
Great
so I just
tip.
got this. Yeah, I just got this little label maker. It says one of my shortest emails, and I rarely lose stuff, because sometimes people are like, "Boy, you must lose stuff all the time if you have to do that." No, I rarely do. But I did leave my iPad on a train in Croatia one time, and I got it back only because it had the email address on it. And it was locked, because if it hadn't been locked, I don't think I would have gotten it back.
Well, you got to think, if you don't have any way for somebody to contact you, even an honest person can't get it back to you.
Absolutely. If I found someone's stuff and it had their email address on it, I'd absolutely try to get it back to them.
Yeah. Great tip. Great tip.
Yeah. And then my bag, the actual bag I use is a Think Tank photo. It's the Urban Disguise 50. I absolutely love this bag. I don't know if I should move back a little bit, but I've had this bag for, I think, 5 or 6 years now, and it almost looks brand new. It's just got a couple little, the only thing you could tell, well, this kind of came off on the strap here, if you can even see that, but no big deal.
5 or 6 years of heavy use, that's pretty good, though.
For sure. I mean, it's been around the world 4 or 5 times. So one thing I do bring is I've always got like a little windbreaker rain jacket, just in case. It fits nicely right into the bag.
Great.
This is my carry-on bag, so it's what I actually bring onto the airplane. I typically will check a bag. I've not gotten to the point, because I'm on the road for upwards of 2-3 months at a time. I just can't carry on only.
Right.
So I do have a big bag. Knock on wood, it's never got lost. So, but in my carry-on, I'll carry on the medications that I might need, always in the original container, just so that if I ever were asked, about the medications, I've got that.
Yep.
One of my biggest tips is to have a power strip.
Oh, there you go.
So this one's got just 3 outlets on it, but I take one of these adapters.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you power it in different countries.
Yeah, so I just got this one little 2-prong European-style power adapter, which actually works in probably 80% of the countries I go to around the world, not just Europe. Plug it in here, plug that into the wall, and I've got 3 US-style outlets.
That's smart.
Yeah, that's
you
smart.
get this 4, 6, probably even more. This is not expensive. It's only about $16, but you don't want just one of the standard sort of computer ones that you find. Buy a little bit better one, because I have burned out just sort of a standard one.
Yeah.
So this one is also good as a surge protector, and it folds up nicely. Now, the other thing is, I've been at the airport many times where you've got those power stations where people plug in. Well, they're always full, right? There's always, so many people around it, but I just asked someone, would you mind if I unplugged yours, plugged it into here, and now
there you go. We can share
3 instead of 1, and you become a hero.
Right.
So people love you.
How could they say no at that point?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So this works out well. Another tip, non-photography related, is I bring some Vicks Vapo Rub.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is, God forbid you get some person sitting beside you that maybe isn't so clean, or
I didn't even think that angle.
Smells a little bit. And, you put a little bit of that on each under your nose.
Wow. See, this is why we do this. What's in your camera bag? You've already shown us 3 things that I would have never thought of.
Yeah, and just get the little tiny one like this. Yeah. Now, it also works if you're stuffed up, obviously, for the normal reasons that you're supposed to use. But I think that's a great tip.
I like that one.
Yeah. So
helps to eliminate other odors.
Yes.
Exactly. I've always got my eye mask. It's got a couple earplugs that fit in here as well. So, go to Iceland in July, and it's almost 24 hours of daylight. So it's hard to sleep. But I've got some earplugs. I've got the eye mask too. So this is a pretty good quality one. It's maybe only $15, $20 though. Certainly got, pens, because I always recommend having a pen with you when you're on the airplane, because you don't, because you're always getting those forms that you need to fill out before you land, and you don't want to be in line trying to fill out the form. So have a pen with you. I've also got any information on my computer on a external little jump drive like this that I might need. Certainly got my camera in here. Now this, I just switched over to a Micro Four Thirds system, and this is the Panasonic Lumix GX8. It's got a 14 to 140 lens on it.
Okay.
It's a wonderful camera, fits really nicely in the hand. And I'll tell you, for someone that travels as much as I do, you got to love the small size and the weight.
14 to 140, is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Wow, that's a very usable range.
Yeah, it's a 2x crop factor on this guy, so it's really like a 28 to 280. And it fits really nicely right in this bag. And I'm loving this Peak Design strap. That's a really nice little system. So I went from the rapid strap, which I do still use for my DSLR, which I bring along as a backup, but that's about it. I've always got my cords, for iPhone, iPad, that I'm going to want to have. Another thing that I do bring for the airplane is one of these guys. And so I could just take this and plug it into here. And now on a lot of airplanes under the seat, you've got a cigarette adapter.
Okay.
You could still charge up. Or if you're on the road anywhere, almost all cars, vehicles around the world have this type of thing to charge. So I'm often charging on our buses and stuff. Another great tip, if you got a crying baby or some loud music or something or street noise, always have your earplugs with you. Another tip on the iPhone is I am a big fan of white noise.
Okay.
So I go to some big cities where there might be street noise. There might be a cock crowing at 4 o'clock in the morning, or who knows what else going on. I put on a little white noise. I've got an app called Ambience.
Okay.
And it goes all night long. Well, if I'm plugged in, it doesn't take down the battery.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and it helps you sleep and drown out the other noises?
For sure. Yeah. And I'm a very light sleeper. So if there is no noise and then anything happens, I wake up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that helps me sleep, and I highly recommend it for people. I do a lot of presentations on the road. We do an image review. So I want to have this little VGA adapter for my computer.
Yeah.
I'll keep that. Toothbrush in case I need to clean up after a long flight. This is a little remote control for a presentation.
Yeah.
And I've always got some munchies with me.
There you go.
These are, if you can see them, they're called Exo bars.
Okay.
And if you want, I'll tell you what they're made of.
What are they made of?
Main ingredient is cricket flour.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Is that
made of ground crickets?
It's actually made of ground crickets.
Yes.
Yep, I just found the website for it.
Awesome. I love them. So it sounds really weird. I've eaten a lot worse stuff than crickets. Tarantulas and putrefied shark and silkworms and all kinds of stuff. But these are actually very good. They're really good, especially the peanut butter and jelly one I love.
Can I go on the no tarantula tour?
Yes. Yeah. That's Cambodia, and you can get them there. You're never forced to do anything.
Okay.
And there's the one time I ever did it, and I'll never have to do it again. But now I know what tarantulas taste like.
Spiders freak me out.
So real quick, I'm almost up here. I always got some munchies with me in case we're missing lunch or we're delayed, or you're at an airport at 2 o'clock in the morning. You want to have some munchies, or I do, because you get low blood sugar or something. Sure. Got to have something with you. And then this bag, of course, will fit my computer. I've got a 15-inch laptop that would go in here.
Okay.
And then I've also just got, I love this hard plastic sort of sheet protector.
For some documents, yeah.
Yeah, for documents, airline tickets, whatever. And then I always have an extra little envelope like this for all my receipts. So I obviously it's my business, so I have to keep all my receipts and everything. So I've got a really nice place for that. So that's about it.
Well, you have with all the traveling, you've got that down to a science for you.
Yeah, I think I got to figure it out.
Yeah, you do. You know what? I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but maybe putting that on your website somewhere. Hey, here's what you might want to think about bringing with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I tend, actually.
Go ahead.
What's that?
I was going to say I tend to way overpack, so I would need some of your help so I don't show up with 3 bags and my camera gear.
Yeah, I say as long as I don't have to carry it, I don't care what you bring, but I highly recommend packing light.
Yes.
Because we're getting on and off trains and buses, and sometimes you have to bring your bag up to your room or down, or, so it's just so much easier if you pack lighter. And, rarely do people say, oh, I wish I would have brought more stuff. It's usually, oh man, I brought 3 extra shirts or extra pair of shoes that I didn't need, or, why'd I bring all those lenses? Now, that is my kit, that lens, that body and that lens. That's it. That's what I shoot with 99% of the time. I do have a DSLR and a 24 to 120 lens as a backup, but I haven't used it on any trips recently. So, loving the smaller camera size.
Well, when you travel like that, you got to think about what you're going to bring. You can't bring everything. You're not traveling by, if you're driving there, that's one thing. You can leave stuff in your vehicle and come and go as you want. But, flying and traveling into some of these places, you don't want to have, 5, 6 bags of gear.
No, 2 bodies, 3, 4 lenses. I mean, you might feel like, boy, I wish I had a wider lens or a faster lens or a longer lens. But I like to think that it gets you other shots to be just one body, one lens.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes you more nimble. It challenges you, and you're not, swapping lenses out. So, man, I think it gets me more shots than it keeps me from.
Ralph, thank you for sharing what's in your bag. Thank you for coming back again. Let's not make it so much time in between. It's been more than a year.
I would love to come on again. Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
And make sure you get in touch with us or let us know, and we'll put that on our page whenever your show kicks off.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now as we're heading into the end, I want to mention again. Oh crap! I just messed it up. Hold on. Don't forget to download our app. We have the JPEG to RAW app on iTunes and on Google, on Android, I guess. And from that, you can get our video feed from YouTube. You can get the audio feed from our channel, and even, I think, the Twitter feed. And then we've broken it up like the photo review show we're doing with A.D. Wheeler. You got those things out there. You have them separated out. The What's in Your Camera Bag, the show we just did here, we'll have it out there on that. So it's a great way to subscribe to the show and keep up with the show. Also, if you want to get the show outside of the app, where of course the video is on YouTube, Vimeo, and iTunes, and the audio, I got a long list here, so I'm gonna have to look at it. Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podomatic, Podbean, and Google Play Music is where you can get the audio feed of the show. We'd love to have you come out and join us in our forums. Not the forums. Let's go. Facebook. That's where most of our activity is in the Facebook group, which is JPEG to RAW, which is facebook.com/groups/JPEG to RAW. And Tim has got a secret project going on that we talked about in the pre-show that I'm sure he's going to post in the Facebook group at some point.
Probably within the next 2 weeks.
So
once everything is done with it.
If you want to see that and then get invited to the party later, you'll need to be part of the Facebook group.
There you go. You got to come up to New York, though.
Yeah, you do have to come up to New York and find his house, because he's not going to tell us where it's at. We do, in the Facebook group and on our website, we do a monthly photo contest. And 2 months ago, we started something new where we do a review of the images with A.D. Wheeler, who's a professional photographer, unlike Tim and I, who will review them and give helpful critique on it. It's not, it's helpful coming from a standpoint of helping you get better, and it's got a lot of good feedback on that one, Tim. A lot of people are interested in doing that. And, you don't have to enter an image to benefit from it. You can watch what he says about other images, but it helps if you put your own image in there, then you can get feedback on your own. And also, if you're going to buy anything from Amazon, remember to use our Amazon link, which is jpegtoraw.com/Amazon. If you go over to our webpage, it's real easy to find on the webpage too. Hold on there. There we go. Over on the webpage, it's right up here at the top where it says Amazon. I can't get my mouse over there, but at the top you can see where it says Amazon. And we do have Topaz Labs, but let's just look at the Amazon. You click on that. It takes you over to Amazon. It's the same thing as if you had used the jpegtoraw.com/Amazon. You go there. Everything is priced as it was before. You don't pay anything extra. I don't know what you bought, but the show gets a small amount of credit. You also see we have the Google Play and app and the iTunes links over there on the left-hand side. And the newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter. I haven't mentioned that recently, Tim. But sign up for a newsletter. I will eventually get one out. And when I do, you want to get it.
Absolutely.
You want to get it. So that is all I have. Not even going to mention the forums because not enough people are going out there, but it's still there. It's still there. All right. That's all I had. Tim, any closing remarks?
Nope, nothing this week.
Okay.
I'm quiet as usual.
Be sure to check out the show notes. We'll have all the links to Ralph's, every link I can find about Ralph, definitely his website and all that kind of stuff. But follow him on Facebook, where you'll get a lot of his updates on what he's doing. And go check out his website, PhotoEnrichments.com. Is that what the right?
PhotoEnrichment.
Yeah.
PhotoEnrichment.
PhotoEnrichment, yeah.
If I could just mention one other
Absolutely.
thing. I've got my iPhone app called My Shot Lists for Travel. And if you go to the iTunes store or on the App Store and you look for either Ralph Velasco or My Shot Lists for Travel, that'll pop up. But that's a free app that I created 4 or 5 years ago, and it's designed to help you to bring back a more well-rounded set of images from any trip. And so it's a shot list with 52 different categories. There you go. And would love it if you downloaded it and put in a review, and that helps us to get noticed on the App Store. But I like to think it's a very useful photography app. It's not one that just adds another filter or does some editing. So it's a useful app that I think people will have some fun with.
Yeah, good looking app. So go out there. I'll put that link in the show notes too.
Appreciate
go out there and maybe I'll post it on our Facebook page too.
That'd be wonderful.
Go out there and check out this. You said it's a free app, right? Yeah.
It's free, and it's something that we use during my trips. There's a feature in it called the Challenge Me feature. If you shake the device, up pops a new category, and that's the category that we need to think about that day. Yeah, you could push that Challenge Me button too in the bottom right. Yep. And then we use that. So before we go out, I say, okay, guys, I'm going to shake my app and shake the device, and up pops a new category. And that's the one that we got to think about that day. So, and I also ask people to have a theme in mind for the rest of the trip. And that's, people start seeing that theme everywhere. So it's a really important exercise.
Someday you're going to make it available for us Android users?
Maybe someday.
Go ahead.
There is a blog post on my website that shows all 52 categories. All the information that's in the app is in that blog post. If you just search for 52 categories, that should pop up. Okay. So all the information's there. Obviously not the functionality that you'd get if you actually use the app. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that's anytime somebody's making an app, that's the challenge is, supporting both platforms, and forcing us down to two. It looks like Windows is pretty much dead as far as the phone platform goes. But supporting both of those takes a lot of effort.
It really does.
Yeah. It's not as easy as just pushing a button and now your code is converted over to whatever version you didn't write on.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It would be. Maybe someday. Well, Ralph, thank you for coming out. I know I kept you longer than what we should have, but I don't know, when you get talking, I don't want to interrupt you. I enjoy listening to your stories.
Well, I appreciate it. Great podcast, and thanks for having me on again, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you. Well, guys, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Nope, thank you. It's enjoyable as usual, same as last.
Yeah, pleasure.
And until next week, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.
So long.